Firstly, lovely ladies, I would love to say thank you so much for joining me today. It is, I love running these webinars and it is an absolute privilege to do so. I don't know who gets more out of them, me or the people joining. I'm hoping a little bit of both, to be honest. But yeah, I really love running these webinars. So today, as you know, you have booked in to find out how to unlock your true self-confidence. Now, one thing that I'm going to be talking about a lot today, and you're going to hear me say a lot, is learning to accept the perfectly imperfect you. Now, this can be quite a difficult thing to do sometimes, but we're going to teach you how you can do it today. All right, now let's see if my, here we go. All right, so as you know, this is a webinar, lovely ladies. So look, I have been talking to a few of you beforehand. So if you haven't already, I would really encourage you to close down any other programs on your computer or put your phone on silent, put it upside down, which I'm actually going to do right now. Just so you're not tempted with any distractions. We've got about an hour together this morning, so it's not too long, but I really want you ladies to make the most out of our time together this morning. Now, just so you all know, I will be giving time for questions at the end of the webinar. So if you want to, in the meantime, you're welcome to engage in the chat and, you know, put any comments or any questions that you might have in the chat. I will go through it when we get to the end, but again, we're going to have question times then. So, my beautiful ones, today, as you know, we are going to talk about how to unlock your true self-confidence. Now, as I said, we've got an hour together, so I'm not going to be able to tell you every single thing in a short hour to 90 minutes. So, at the end of this webinar, and I am going to mention it a few times along as we go, I'm going to talk about how you might like to become a part of my wonderful program, the Phoenix Method. I'm going to explain a bit about what that is at the end. Plus, if you stick around towards the end, I actually have a little giveaway for you. I love to give away things for free, and Chris, you would know this. I love giving away my freebies. So if you stick around towards the end, you will get an opportunity to find out how you can get your hands on that. All right, so let's get going. So I'm going to start this morning by sharing with you a little bit about how I came to be doing what I'm doing right now. So this is the young Ellie. This is me at about 16, 17 years of age. Now, I am a born people pleaser, everyone. And because of this, because of being bullied at school as a people pleaser, I really started to believe that I had to do and say a lot of things to keep people happy and just do what they wanted me to do so that love could, you know, so they just basically so they'd love me. And I think a lot of us have that as well. I know I'm not the only one. But for my story is because of this people pleaser mode that I was in at the age of 16, around when this photo was taken, I was being sexually abused by my very first boyfriend. So that was my introduction into a romantic relationship. Now, I'm very grateful that this relationship did not last very long. My parents helped me leave that, which is good. Now, in 1996, there was a lot going on, and this photo here tells a story. So when I was 20, I was married to someone else. And, you know, it's still quite a young age to get married. In 1996, and, you know, you're going to be able to work out my age now, I was 23 years old, and we had an awful lot going on in our young lives. This photo shows that we had 2 children under the age of 14 months. Both my children were born 13 and a half months apart. My husband was unemployed. We had a mortgage that we couldn't afford. All the furniture, basically anything we had was either given to us or bought secondhand. We had to create an income somehow, so we started running a home-based business. And I had postnatal depression, and also my husband, although I did not know it at the time, was taking drugs. So that's a hell of a lot going on at the age of 23, right? Now, I describe this as a boiling pot ready to boil over, and it literally did in the form of domestic violence. And this marriage, unfortunately, became quite abusive. This picture here in 1999, only a couple of years later, was one of the 2 lowest points in my life. I was suffering from postnatal depression and suicidal tendencies because of the situation and because of how I was being treated in my relationship. Now, there was in this point, there was like a Hunger Games moment, I would call it, when I had pills. I'd collected all the pills around in the house. My kids were in bed, my husband was away, and I had them in my hand, ready up to my mouth to take to end my life, when I thought about those 2 children. And I could not handle the thought of me, and I'll get very emotional when I talk about this, of me not being around to see them and love them as a mum. And also, you know, I didn't want them to miss out on having a mother as well. So thankfully, I didn't follow through with that. I'm very grateful that I didn't, and I'm still here to talk about it today. Now, this relationship too, my parents helped remove me from this relationship, which, you know, my dad was the one that made me aware that it was a domestic violence situation, and they did help remove me from this, which meant that I was able then to embark on single mum life. Now, if any of you are single mums, you would get this. It's like it's a whole different level of parenthood. But one thing that started happening, you know, I did really start on a recovery journey here. I sought professional help. I got myself on medication. And the one thing that I realized was that I was able I was free to make my own choices, which is the first time ever that I'd really kind of sat with the reality of this. And also I realized that, you know, I wasn't too bad at this thing called life. I was also pretty good at this thing called parenthood. I wasn't perfect. I was perfectly imperfect, but I was pretty good at it. Now, in this period too, the one thing that I wasn't seeing though is that I wasn't seeing my true worth solely as a woman, as a person. Because of this lack of confidence that I had through my experiences, I had this belief that I needed to have a significant other in my life to make me complete. And I also needed to provide my children with a 2-parent household. So I went in search of another husband. Now, I found a man online. We married very, very quickly. And I truly believe that both of us married for all the wrong reasons. This marriage as well was actually quite abusive in the form of neglect and financial abuse. And unfortunately, it didn't last very long, but because I had already been through it once, I was able to see a lot quicker what it was. So I did end this relationship. After this second marriage, this is when I truly began to realize who Ali was. This is when I started to unlock my true self-confidence, because the only one I needed to work on was me. And I really began here to get deeper into unlocking my self-confidence, into my own research. And I studied a lot of stuff, you know, things like, there was all kinds of modalities, but particularly for me, it was effective communication, how body language works, and lots of aspects, you know, and it was both, you know, mentally, physically, spiritually, all those types of things that I was studying as well and learning about myself. Now, while I was in that second marriage, I started a career, and it was a wonderful career as a receptionist come office manager in the front office of a school. And in 2015, we had a new boss come in. Now, we didn't realise at the time that this boss was quite a narcissist. It quickly became evident that he was. And unfortunately, this workplace it quite quickly turned into a very toxic workplace. And given that I was kind of in the hub of the school, if you like, I witnessed and experienced a lot of sexual harassment and workplace bullying. I was asked by my colleagues if I would be willing to report him for the sexual harassment in particular, and I did. However, this this was the moment when all the build-up of everything that had been happening really came crashing down on me. I was forced to resign that job because I just couldn't handle the thought of going back to that toxic workplace. So overnight, I had a total loss of identity, if you like. You know, I had no job, I had no income, no career. My 10-year career was lost. I lost close friendships over this. And again, once again, my confidence was just shattered. It was like, I don't know what to do with myself. The doctors, the work cover doctors, had diagnosed me with anxiety and PTSD as well as depression as well. So total loss of identity. But even in the midst of all this mental chaos, if you like, I made the decision again that, you know, I had been through so much that I was going to recover through this. I'd recovered through so much already, but I'm going to recover through this as well. And this was the last time that I was ever going to let this happen to me. And not only that, but even in all this mental chaos, I decided that somehow I was going to take my experiences to help other people, other women in particular. So I'm really proud to be sharing this information with you today, because people will describe me, and they do describe me, and I describe myself as happy, healthy, you know, outgoing, bubbly, someone who absolutely has a zest for life. And I'm proud. I'm very proud to say that. I also have a wonderful support network around me, and something we're going to talk about today. I have a beautiful family. So this man here, that is my incredible partner, Craig, I call him my third time lucky man. We've been together for almost 9 years now. These two people in this photo here are my two children, now grown up in their mid-20s. I am just so proud of them. And my daughter-in-law in that picture there, who's been married to my son, Harley, for 2 years now, which is beautiful. And I also have some wonderful supportive friends as well. You know, I have a wonderful bunch of supportive people and peeps, my peeps, I call them, around me as well. So today, what I do, ladies, is, you know, I have a passion through everything, all the crap that I've been through. You know, I have developed a passion to help women who have survived maybe similar hardship or different traumas in their life to really come back to their true worth, you know, to help you recognize and rediscover your voice, your confidence, and your strength. Because there's nothing more that I love doing is empowering women and helping them to remember that. So I work now as a women's transformation coach in this area, and helping ladies both personally and professionally. I'm a certified business coach, and something very exciting is I'm actually opening the Heart and Soul Business Academy in July. It's launching officially. It's very exciting. If you would like more information on that, you're welcome to contact me. I am a motivational speaker, which I just spoke to you. I think it was Deanna that when I went up to Brisbane, I did a couple of gigs up there, which was unbelievable. And I'm also the host of the Purple Warriors podcast, which is all about supporting ladies in particular who have survived domestic violence. So thank you for listening to me and hearing a little bit about me. But now we're here to talk about you and why you've booked in today. So I want to share with you the 5 particular keys to unlocking your true self-confidence. So the first one I want to talk about is self-awareness. Now, self-awareness is about being in touch with yourself enough to know that you want to change your thoughts, your feelings, and your circumstances. So, ladies, there is a huge difference, okay, between needing to change and wanting to change. There's a huge difference, because it's really important that we find things that help us, that we want to grow, rather than sitting back and waiting for it to happen. Because unfortunately, and this sucks sometimes, but it is the truth, if we sit back and wait for things to happen, most of the time they're not going to, until we make the choice to put the effort in. So we have to have that self-awareness and want to change our circumstances, which I'm going to say hopefully is why you're here today. Number 2 is acceptance. So accepting that none of us are perfect and we're never going to be perfect. And, you know, you might go, oh, crap, Ali, what are you telling me that for? But as I said right at the beginning, something that I'm going to talk about a lot today is being perfectly imperfect. Because life is an absolute growth journey, you know, and what we need to do is honor where we're at now and not literally not wait for this hypothetical perfect version of ourselves to exist. I did this for a long time. So it's really important that first of all, we become comfortable in ourselves in the now, but also to remember that, you know, we still have this choice to learn and to grow. Number 3 is connection. Now, I showed you that photo of my peeps, and I could have added 100 more photos into there. But often when we lose our confidence and we're in a really low state, we feel alone. But I want you all to know that even though you might feel alone, no one ever has to be alone, all right? You're not alone. So it is really important that we find the connection with people who are going to help us in that growth journey that we're on. So people who understand us, all right, and rather than people who are going to feel sorry for us and go, you know, it might seem like they're supporting us, but they're more feeling sorry for us. We want to surround ourselves with wonderful connections who are going to build us up and help us to move forward on our journey and help us grow. Number 3 is embracing change. So, ladies, a lot of changes have already happened, right? You've heard some of the major changes that have happened for me in life. And, you know, I'm sure you might have some major changes. There might be some not so major changes, but a lot have happened and there are a lot to come. That's just the reality of it, right? And I often say that it's like you know, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, or 3 steps forward, 2 steps back, whatever you want to say. But even though you might feel like you're going backwards, you're actually not, because if you are taking the steps, you know, to improve yourself and work on yourself, every step you take, whether you feel like it's backwards or forwards, is helping you get you closer to your dreams and your goals. So it's really important that we embrace these changes as they happen. And number 5, lucky last, is abundance. So abundance is all about connecting with your future self, all right, in order to create the life that you deserve. And with abundance, I like to say that, you know, there are many different types of abundance. And, you know, I used to look at abundance simply in the form of money, all right? Yet I have come to recognize over the years, and particularly teaching the stuff that I teach, is that there's abundance in so many different areas of life. You know, it's not just money. There's abundance in creativity, in time, in sleep, in energy, in all types of things, you know. And if you want to share in the chat, you know, what's some areas that you can see abundance in your life? Just bear with me a second, ladies. There's something that's not quite right here for me. Oh, here we go. Sorry, ladies. Sorry to interrupt there. It's just that, there we go. Okay, that might be better. All right, and I'll see if I can bring the chat up too, because I can't quite see that for some reason. Oh, technology. Who put your hand up if someone else has trouble with technology? All right, beautiful ladies. Sorry about that. Let's keep going. All right, so yeah, so let me know in the chat, you know, if you what's another area of abundance that you can think of as well. All right, so let's get moving. So what I want to talk to you about first is learning to love yourself just as you are. This is literally the perfectly imperfect you. This is what we're going to talk about. And if you've got a notepad and a pen today, I want you to write this down or take a screenshot, whatever you need to do. I want you to remember that you are absolutely the most important person in your entire universe. Now, this might be difficult. When I first read this, I kind of went, yeah, right. However, it is really important that we remember this, that, you know, and you might like to write this down even as an affirmation. I am the most important person in my entire universe, and start repeating it to yourself over and over and over again until you believe it, because it is so true. This is part of that self-awareness that I was talking about. So we're going to talk about how you can learn to love yourself just as you are. All right, so first of all, we need to, and this is going to sound weird, we need to listen to our inner critic. Now, another name that I use for the inner critic is the itty bitty shitty committee, because it is this little voice in our head that is constantly telling us all the stuff that is wrong about ourselves, or that we're not good enough, you know, that you're not good enough, you're not as good as she is, you know, you're not as pretty as they are, you're, you know, whatever the thing. Can I tell you, my itty bitty shitty committee had a moment this morning. She started to tell me that I didn't look good because my hair was too big, as I was looking in the mirror getting ready for today. And I'm like, wait, hang on, that's not true. So first of all, we need to listen to her, right? But not listen too much, because what happens is if we continue to listen and let her take over, we can get into a place of overwhelm, right? And then if we stay in this place of overwhelm, we keep listening to her and starting to believe that what she's trying to tell us is true, then unfortunately all these negative thought patterns can turn into a state of depression, all right? Not necessarily, you know, diagnosed depression, but a state of depression. And when we're in this time, these are the times when we might need that connection too, and we might feel that we want to express these emotions outwardly to other people. And that is absolutely healthy. As I've said, we need to have that connection, and but what it's important to not do is to dwell on these feelings constantly and dwell in them. Because we find ourselves repeating these thought patterns over and over and over and over again. And I have done this in my life several times. And unfortunately, we get to a state of a pity party. And I know that sounds harsh, but this is where we get to. Helen, did you say your itty bitty shitty committee never shuts up? Is that what you're saying? Oh, darling. Well, keep listening, because we're going to talk about how we can help you with that. And, you know, I don't like the fact that sometimes we do get to a pity party, because when we get there, it's no good. It's not good for us to stay, you know, stuck, because we don't move forward, you know, if we're in that space of that real self-degradation, for want of a better way to put it. It's just our itty bitty shitty committee, which I will call the committee from now on, so I don't have to say the whole thing. You know, it makes us stay stagnant. So let's talk about now how we can use it to help us move forward. So what we need to do is question her, question our committee, you know, listen closely to what she is saying. Because, and I'm sure you've heard this from other people, and you know, I've already mentioned affirmations today, but it's time to take all those overwhelming thoughts and turn them around into affirmations, positivity, and it can be done. So help yourself become aware of what your committee is saying to yourself, right? Really start to consciously listen to what she's saying. And when we start to consciously listen to what she's saying, and we get into a subconscious pattern quite quickly of, you know, starting to question her. You know, we start to subconsciously hear what she's saying, like I did this morning with my big hair. I mean, that's a very simple example. But we start to hear it, and then we start to question it. And you guys, well, is that actually true? No, it's not. You know, did I have big hair this morning? Who cares if I did? Do you know what I mean? This was my personal committee trying to come at me this morning. But, you know, so start to listen closely, try to tell yourself not to believe. And then when you consciously start to do this, it's amazing how quickly it turns into a subconscious pattern of doing it, you know. To give you another example, my brother, who is 2 years younger than me, is a very academic man, right? He went to uni, he got his honours degree, he studied, he's very, very bright. He can play a musical instrument like that. He can learn it like that. Whereas me, I'm not naturally an academic person. I didn't finish high school. I didn't go to uni. I didn't do any further education until I was 35, but that's okay. That's something that I'm cool with now. However, as I have gone along life, something that I noticed that I was saying to myself, and my committee was saying quite often, was if I would make a mistake, I would go, "You're an idiot." Now, my committee I would say that not only up here, but I would say it out loud. When I really started to hear how often I was saying this to myself, I really started to question it. And I was like, well, is that actually true? Am I really an idiot? And the simple answer is no, I'm not, you know. So now, and this doesn't happen nearly so often now, it does still sometimes because that's nature. But when I hear myself say this now, I'll stop because I subconsciously recognize and hear myself saying it, and I'll go, you know what, Ali? You are an incredible, intelligent woman. What can you learn from what just happened? So I have taken all the negativity out of that simple phrase, "You're an idiot," and I'm turning it around to tell myself that I'm wonderful and create an affirmation. Now, you might want to, you know, think about doing something for yourself. I'm going to a group. Karen, hi Karen, how are you, darling? I'm going to a group this afternoon. I'm totally frightened. Oh, we'll talk about that later. We'll come back to that, Karen. As I said, I don't know if you were here when I said I'm going to have some time for questions and chats at the end. So we'll come back to that. All right. So something I want to ask every single one of you ladies is, are you able to, or what goes through your mind when I ask you if you can look at yourself in the mirror and tell yourself, "I love you"? And, you know, how does this make you feel when I say that? Does the thought of it make you emotional or worried? Does it make you feel empowered? Some people can feel really empowered when they think about telling themselves, "I love you" in the mirror. Or are you like me and you think, when I first heard of this, I thought it was a really stupid idea? However, this is going to the mirror, which is something called, if you haven't heard of it, it's called mirror work, and it was created by Louise Hay from Hay House. It is such a powerful tool and a simple tool that I have come to believe, and I truly believe that every single person on this earth needs to do. And this is something that I work very closely with, mirror work. This is the very basis of it that I'm talking about now. But I get all my clients to do mirror work through the Phoenix method. And I get them to do it every single morning. And we go over and over and over how to create the perfect and accept the perfectly imperfect you through mirror work. All right. So it might sound easy, right? However, I can tell you from experience that if you are someone who is struggling with your self-worth, this powerful and simple resource can be quite challenging, to say the least. But I'm going to encourage you, if you're not already doing this, give it a go, give it a start, because it is powerful. If you find it difficult at the start, keep pushing through. I can tell you again from experience categorically that it gets easier as you go along. Now, as I said, when I started doing this, I thought it was the dumbest thing I'd ever heard. I really did. I was on my way to a marketing conference in Melbourne, and part of our pre-work for this marketing conference was that we needed to go to ourselves and tell yourself, I love you, and mirror. Now, I'd never heard about mirror work. And I just went, what has this got to do with marketing? This is dumb. This is what went through my head. But I went, all right, it's part of the work, so I'm going to go to the mirror and I'm going to do it. This was also in the time when I was recovering from leaving that job. I was recovering from PTSD, anxiety, and depression. So I went to the mirror and I tried to do this. I was in such a state that I couldn't even look myself in the eye, let alone get those words out. And what this did was very, very quickly made me aware of just how much I needed to do this. I needed to learn to love myself again. So I have I think we're up to 4 or 5 years since, I've been doing this for years now. And I still do mirror work every single morning because it got easier as I went along. The second day I went back and I was able to mumble the words. I still couldn't look at myself, Another day I went back and I could just look at myself, but I couldn't get the words out. But as I kept going, it got better and better and better until now, years later down the track, this is something that I love to do and something that I teach as well. So it is a simple yet powerful tool. So I'm going to encourage you, if you're not doing this, give it a start. Now, the steps that we have spoken about so far, and we're going to talk about more, there's still a lot more to come, as I said, these can be a challenge for a lot of people to start off with. And I totally get that. I've been through this journey several times over. But it's really weird. When you do this, you actually learn to love the challenge of pushing yourself further every day, because you start to recognize that all this stuff that you're doing works, right? And you start to love the challenge. And it's not easy to begin with, absolutely not, of course not, but I have literally worked with ladies who have come to me believing that just everything's hopeless, and they don't know how they're going to get their lives back together, to now they are literally skipping out of bed, looking forward to their day, and they're going to that mirror and they can't wait, they can't wait to tell themselves, I love you. And it's so amazing to watch these women transform like that. So here is a bit of a fact for you. Taking responsibility for ourselves and our thoughts is the most important and powerful attribute that we have, in our own lives. So we need to remember, again, it's up to us to take that responsibility, to have that self-awareness, to want to change. So I want to ask you these 3 questions, and you might want to write these down or take a screenshot. Are you ready to accept the challenge? Do you recognize that it may not be easy? And lastly, are you willing to give it a go anyway? So I'm just going to leave that up a sec if you want to take, oh, I see we've got the chat. No worries, Daniela. She's probably gone now. No worries. Yes. If you have gone, Daniela, no worries. Just send your message and yes, I will send you the recording. No worries. All right. So hopefully you've managed to take a screenshot of that and I'll move on. All right. So we're getting to the pillar of embracing change. Okay. So let's listen to this quote called by Socrates, which actually really excites me. The secret of change is to focus all of your energy not on fighting the old, but on building the new. And the reason this excites me is because, you know, yes, it is important that we deal with the old and all the stuff that's happened. I mean, for me, for my story, you've heard it. Yes, I needed to deal with that stuff that happened, but not focus on it, continue to focus on it, right? And this is where I get excited, because it's important that now we focus our energy on building the new. So building something, taking the changes that we've gone through and embracing them, and building something new and amazing for ourselves. That's why this quote excites me so much. So let's talk about how we can do that. First thing is that we need to remember that change is inevitable. And, you know, it's even normal, you know, and it's even necessary, because I truly believe that without change, life would be boring. And sometimes, given some of the changes that can happen, this is hard to accept. But it might, you know, it actually takes us to adapt to the changes as they happen in all the different changes, stages of our lives, to be able to thrive and put ourselves, you know, set ourselves up on a path for stability. So how can we adapt and embrace these changes? So, except that you can't control everything. Yes, there are certain things that we can control, absolutely. So things that we've spoken about so far today. So obviously we can learn to control our thoughts. We can retrain our brain, our committee, right? We can control or learn to reframe our actions. But there are things that happen around us in our environment that we actually don't have any control over, okay? For me, you know, I didn't have any control over how I was treated in my marriages. I didn't have control over how my boss was treating everybody else and myself. If you want to look at a really big picture, you know, we all know something that's been happening in the world over the last couple of years, COVID and lockdowns. This is stuff that we haven't had control over. And this is where it can be really difficult to acknowledge and deal with these changes as they happen. So what we need to remind ourselves of is that change comes into our lives to help us grow in all the different aspects in our life. And a couple of those aspects being in our strength and, of course, our confidence as well, which is what we're here to talk about today, is to, you know, rebuild and unlock our self-confidence. And I'm even talking about, you know, these rough changes. So there's good changes that happen that can help us grow. And there's not so good changes that can help us grow as well. So even the rough changes, you know, they will help us grow. I know for me that every single time I've had something happen in my life or a change, I've grown from it. I may not have been able to see that straight away, but when I come out of it, or when I've been able to look back, it's gone, wow, yeah, did I learn from that situation? And even through, you know, and I have seen a lot of people through COVID have grown and changed and learned so much from that experience alone. So tell me in the chat, you know, is there something that you have gone through in life where you can now, you know, and it doesn't have to be huge, it can be something smaller, where you can now look back at it and go, wow, yeah, I really learned from that. Yep. So something also that we need to do is investigate fears that we might have around change, because there does, you know, there do come times in our lives, you know, and often many times when we need to make changes. So, you know, these are the things that we choose. We can control, and we choose to make these changes. So when we know that it's time to make a change, something that we need to do is, you know, really think about and ask ourselves are we allowing certain fears to stand in the way of taking the necessary actions to move forward? Because, and I see this a lot. I've done it a lot. I'm going to put my hand up, but I see this with a lot of people. So it's important that we ask ourselves, what would you do if you had no chance of failing? That's a huge question to ask. So the first few answers here, when you ask yourself this question and you openly listen to what the answers are, the first few answers that pop into your head are the ones that are going to point you most likely in the direction that you need to go. Because there's a reason you've got a fear, because deep down you know. Right? And by, like I said, by becoming aware of these fears, you can address them. And you can address the limiting beliefs that you might have around them as well, and what impact they have on you reaching your goals. So I just want you to sit with that for a little while. What would you do if you had no fear of failure? What would you do if you had no chance of failing? Okay. And this is actually something I have had to ask myself around starting and launching my business course next month. I put this off for a long time, but I knew it was something that I needed to do. And I've had to ask myself, what would I do if I had no fear of failing? And ask myself a whole lot of other questions, which I'm going to get into as well. So let's talk about failure, having a healthy perspective on failure, ladies. Now, this word, this slide gets me, and I'll explain why. Failure totally sucks, right? And it is downright shitty at times as well. But our failures are not permanent imperfections of ourselves, and they're not weaknesses, although sometimes that's how we might see them. Failures are not reflections on us as human beings, because we can take these situations and we can learn and choose to grow from them. Whoops, hang on, went backwards. There we go. All right, so the thing is here though, sometimes we do, however, and I see this a lot as well, we make excuses to stick with what we know rather than being brave enough to take the risks, rather than to learn new things and work on ourselves so that we can achieve the success, and let's go back to those stepping stones, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. I see a lot of people making excuses on why they shouldn't and can't take risks in life to move forward. And this is why this gets me, this particular slide, is because I really dislike the word failure, and I dislike the word mistake. And for me, I need, my own personal vocabulary for the purposes of training apps. Obviously I use it a lot, but in my personal vocabulary, I try not to use these 2 words, failure and mistake. I prefer to say learning experiences, because there is always something that we can learn from everything that we do in life. So don't be afraid to try new things and take risks. I'll say it again. Remember, ladies, no one's perfect. We are all perfectly imperfect. So don't be afraid to take those risks. Just take a drink. Sorry, girls. Okay. So let's talk about embracing uncertainty by taking risks. Now, when I talk about this, taking risks doesn't mean taking unnecessary risks, like big ones, like let's go real big, like jumping out of a plane. I would never do that because that scares the crap out of me. Something else I would never do is hold a huge hairy spider, because they scare the crap out of me too. Those for me are risks, that I wouldn't take. But what I'm talking about when I'm talking about taking risks in your life is that ones that are going to depend on the unique goals and the fears that you have around these goals. Okay. So some questions I'd love you to ask yourself are these. And again, you might want to take a screenshot of these as well. What conversations have I been avoiding? Are you avoiding maybe people, situations? What are you avoiding in life that you know you shouldn't be? How can I open up more opportunities for myself rather than staying in that safe space? And you'll know if you're in it, because you'll go, oh, I really really know that I need to do that. Deep down, you have this inner knowing that you really need to do this because it's going to create a new opportunity for yourself. And how can you do it? And lastly, something we've already asked, but I want you to ask it again. What would I do if I had no fear? Because this is what could help translate into goals for yourself. So when we actually, when we take the right risks and we really embrace stretching ourselves, you know, it's going to help us expand in our knowledge. And also help you accomplish so much more than what you would if you just stuck in that play it safe mode. And I know, you know, it's very easy to do that. And, you know, you might decide that you're going to stay in the safe space or the comfort zone, and it's going to be great for a while. But it's certainly going to put limits on what you can create for your own future. So when we can embrace and lean forward into the uncertainty, you know, instead of resisting it, so we can lean forward and embrace that change, we get really good at embracing it and just kind of accepting it as it comes along. You know, as I said before, we come to learn and love and embrace the challenges when they happen. It's wonderful when you get to this place, even when you're in a difficult space. So tell me in the chat, and I will come back to it. I can see that there's been a bit of chat going on, and I will come back to it, but tell me in the chat, you know, what's one thing that you would do if you had no fear? Pop it in, let me know. I'll come back to it. So we are going to now talk about abundance. I love this topic. This topic excites me the most, I think. So I want to help you now, ladies, take everything that we've spoken about so far and take it a little bit further, and now look at, you know, how you can look towards the future to connect with that person that you want to be and the deep down true dreams, goals and desires that you have. So this is looking into that future perfectly imperfect you. So we're going to start with what might seem small. However, it's extremely powerful, and it's not as small as you might think. So something that is really good to do is practice gratitude. Now, I know a lot of, you know, I've talked to a lot of ladies who, and this isn't wrong, who do gratitude or practice gratitude as something to do at the end of every day before they go to bed. And they think back over the day just gone and what they're grateful for, okay? And if you do this, I do it, keep doing it because it's awesome. It's a really good thing to do. However, I choose another way of doing it as well. So I see another way of doing it. So you can enter into the next day with gratitude as well. So a practice that I have added into my morning routine is each and every day, before my feet hit the ground, before I get out of bed, I lie there and think of what I'm going to be. Those 3 words, I'm going to be grateful for in the day ahead. And I don't just mean the things that you know that you're going to enjoy doing, right? So we know, you know, you might know you've got some really good things that are going to happen today. Like today, I was grateful. I knew I was going to wake up and do this webinar. Am I grateful for that? Absolutely. But there are often also going to be things during your day that you might not be looking forward to doing. And the challenge is to be grateful for them as well. And this way, if you have something ahead, you know, in the day that you might not be looking forward to, it's going to help you deal with it on a much higher positivity level or a frequency, if you want to add some spirituality into it, okay? And not only are other people going to see that in you, but you are certainly going to feel it when you enter the day with gratitude, as opposed to the feeling of dread or not looking forward to it. Now, to use an example, I'm a business coach, so I had to get a certification to be able to teach this IP, intellectual property. And 6 months last year, I had to go through a course, and we had monthly assessments that we had to enter into. Now, as I said, I'm not a naturally academic person. So for me to have to do these assessments, which were going online and coaching our peers, it was very daunting to me. So I would wake up in the morning knowing that I had that assessment that day, and I had a choice to make. I could either go, oh my God, I've got that assessment, I don't want to do it. Okay, I suppose I'll get it over with. Or I could choose to go through the day with, fantastic, I've got this assessment, and this is what I did. I've got this assessment today. I'm going to go in and I'm going to learn so much. I'm so grateful that I've got the opportunity to learn and grow from my peers and my trainer, and I'm going to learn lots and I'm going to do awesome. So this was the type of things that I would say to myself in the morning. Now, and keep in mind too, this assessment wasn't until like 6:30 at night. So I had a whole day to get through. But when I went into that assessment, when I logged on online, I went in with a positive attitude rather than, oh my God, I don't want to be here. And can you imagine the difference of what people would have seen had I gone in with that I don't want to be here attitude, as opposed to I'm grateful to be here attitude. So that's what I mean when I say, practice gratitude even for the things that you might not be looking forward to, because it really does work. Did I pass the assessments? Clearly I did, because I got my certification. Anyway, that's just me bragging a bit. All right, ladies. So that was looking into the immediate future. We are now going to look into a little bit further into the future, right? So let me ask you, how far ahead do you set your goals, ladies? Do you set them maybe like you do for New Year's resolutions? Do you set them 12 months in advance or 12 months ahead? For me personally, I like to do it 6 months at a time, because I'm a little bit impatient, I think. I can't wait 12 months. But pick a time frame that suits you. Some people do it 2 years in advance. Some people do it 5 years. I think for most people, we will do it a year at a time. But what I want you to do is, just like, your New Year's resolutions, make a list of things that you want to achieve in a certain time frame. But don't just make the list of the things that you want to achieve. Write down to what type of person you want to be when you achieve those goals. Because this to me is a lot more important than the goals themselves. What kind of person do you want to develop into? So write down, what are your dreams, goals, desires, and what kind of person do you want to be? And then, this is something else that I've added into my daily practice, my morning practice, but you can do this anytime throughout the day, is take those goals and visualize yourself in those scenarios. So visualize yourself achieving those scenarios, whatever they are. And, this is powerful in itself. Like I said, I do this in the morning with my gratitude exercise. Then I do a little bit of visualization, stepping into my future self. So picture, that person that you want to be, the future you. And when you're visualizing her, really get deep into the visualization. So think about what you are seeing, what you're feeling, what you're hearing around you, even what you're wearing, and what you might be thinking. Now, I'll share a little bit later, but one of my beautiful clients, she was visualizing something in particular, and she had this very, very clear picture in mind that she was visualizing, and it actually, it's amazing. She actually visualized it and attracted it into her life. And again, I'll share with that a little bit later, but it's very, very exciting. So this stuff does work. Okay, hang on, sorry. All right. So here I want to talk about being unapologetically and authentically who you are as you step into that person that you want to be. Okay, the person that you're creating in your mind's eye, you might be creating her as I'm talking here, that's fine. But it says on the screen there, remember to believe it until you achieve it. Now, one phrase I also hear a lot of people say, fake it till you make it. And I don't like that phrase, because I prefer believe it till you achieve it, because it sounds so much more positive, okay? And a lot of people, when I talk about visualization and stepping into your future self, they will say to me, but I feel so fake, Ali. And this is what I want to remind you, is that it's not being fake. You are believing it because you're literally believing that you're going to achieve it, right? I used to be a faker in the sense that when I was in the later years of my first marriage, you know, I would go to church or social functions, and people would come up to me and ask me how I was. Now, I would fake being okay because I didn't want anyone to know my pain. B, it was for my safety. And, you know, the reality of that was, though, is that the happier I pretended to be on the outside, the worse I was on the inside. Now, this was being a faker for self-preservation. So, you know, I used to beat myself up about it a lot, but I don't anymore. But that's different to what I'm talking about now. So when you are believing it until you achieve it, because you know you're putting faith in yourself that you're going to achieve it. So it's not being fake at all. I hope that makes sense. So as you know, practice that visualization, you might feel like you're faking it. But I want you to remember that you're retraining your brain. You know, you're using those positive affirmations. You're putting all of the positive energy out into the universe, or, you know, if you believe in God or the universe, whatever you are, you're putting it out there. And I'm sure that we've all heard about the law of attraction, right? And this is something that I wasn't really sure if it worked when I first heard of it. But I've put a lot of this stuff into practice. And one thing that I did over a year ago now was I wrote a letter to myself. And I was doing a marketing course. I wrote a letter to myself for 6 months in advance. And I put it in an envelope. So I wrote it to my future self. So I put it in an envelope. I put it in the drawer and forgot about it. I came back to this letter. And in the meantime, I was practicing my visualization. I was doing my gratitude. I was doing all the stuff that I'm talking about today. And now, almost 6 months to the day, I opened this letter. When I read it, I was pleasantly surprised and really happy to read that every single thing in that letter was actually happening in that moment. I was like, oh my goodness, wow. And that was when I really came into I had an aha moment, if you like, in my own life, was this stuff really works. So, you know, again, the law of attraction or the law of prayer, whatever you believe in, it does work. And I've spoken a lot today about, you know, pushing ourselves forward a little bit each day. So even if if you're in a place right now, you might be somewhere where you're maybe not trusting yourself that you've got what it takes. I'm going to challenge you. Make a start today. You know, you're here because you know you want to make that change, and you know you need to make that change. So why not put those fears aside and start making a change today. And even if you implement a little bit at a time, okay, just a little bit, because we've spoken about a lot today. Just remember that scenario, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, you know, you're still moving forward. And I am here to help you do exactly that, my beautiful ladies. Okay, so as I said, we're going to have time for questions coming up very, very shortly. But what I would love to do right now is just share with you a little bit about the Phoenix method and, you know, and how you might like to help yourself move forward by becoming a part of the Phoenix method. And don't forget, I've got that little gift coming up for you as well. So this is an incredible program, and I have called it the Phoenix method because, like the mythical creature, the Phoenix, right, although she's mythical and she is said to be a woman as well, in reality, we often go through times of struggle where we need to have a rebirth in ourselves. You know, we need to make it sound corny, rise from the ashes and grow again and become, you know, go through that journey of renewal and recovery. And the myth of the Phoenix also says that every time she does this, she becomes more and more beautiful. And as I say this, I get shivers down my spine because I think of the journey, you know, in my story, that the several times over that I have had to rise from the ashes. And I know this happens with a lot of ladies in your lives as well, and especially with a lot of ladies I've worked with in the Phoenix method. So let's talk about what we learn about in the Phoenix method. It's a lot of the stuff that we talk about, that we've spoken about today, but going a lot deeper in it. So we go really deeply into looking at what your personal self-beliefs are. We talk about releasing those limiting beliefs and unhealthy attachments that you might have in life as well. So go back to that quote from Socrates. We talk about growth, forgiveness, and trust. Those are big things in a lot of people's lives. We talk about connection, creating space and finding the tribe that is right for you. We talk about abundance and connecting with your consciousness. So a lot of the stuff is spoken about. We go very much deeper into it. And lastly, but not least, how to be unstoppable and creating the future you. And we also talk about a lot more than that as well. So this Phoenix method is an online course as well as a coaching membership as well. So it goes for 12 months and yep, there we go. So what is included in the Phoenix method membership? You will get an online recorded course to go through at your own pace, because everyone's at a different journey. You'll get access to a private Facebook group with a lot of wonderfully supportive women in them. That's part of the connection. You'll get interactive workbooks. You get we have weekly live online coaching circles where if you have questions around the course or you have something that you'd like to talk about, you can come and be coached by me. You will also have 2 individual coaching sessions where, you know, we can come and talk together about some really deep stuff that might be happening with you as well. Now, I have included some bonuses. I love giving away stuff bonuses. So I have included recorded guided meditations, as well as something I have just introduced is monthly intensive masterclasses. So these are picking topics each month where we will go deeper again into certain topics. So we might go deeper into the topic of gratitude or deeper into the topic of meditation, stuff like that. Now, this is all valued at over $3,000. So that's a lot. There's a lot in that. And I want to tell you about some of my amazing clients just briefly. So Gia came to me. She was really shy and trying to break free from someone who wasn't serving her in life. And she, after working with me, just became such a strong woman. I look at her Facebook post now and I am in awe of what she is achieving for herself right now. So she's certainly grown through that Phoenix journey and come out looking amazing. Trish is wonderful. She wanted to move forward in her career, but she didn't know what she was going to do and she didn't know how to do it. She was one of those ladies who was scared to take the risks. of trying something new. But she has now completed a massage therapy course, and she and I don't know if she's doing it now, but I know she was looking to do it, looking to help palliative care and cancer patients through massage therapy, which is just amazing. Amanda is a single mum of 3. Now she came, you know, she had very low self-esteem due to many instances of violence in her life, but she has gone through the Phoenix method, and she, I can tell you, is now taking on life with a vengeance. She's so fiercely independent now, showing up for herself in a way that she never thought was possible, but I did. So she's beautiful, my Amanda. Robin is someone else who was experiencing workplace bullying, similar to what I was. She was applying for jobs. She wasn't getting the interviews because of that lack of confidence. But after working alongside me, she started her dream job. She got the hours that she wanted, which were different to what was advertised, and she got a higher pay rate than expected. So she's loving life right now. Now, I spoke about someone before who had achieved their vision that they created for themselves. This is Sharon. We have worked closely together now. Sharon came to me with massive self-doubt that she wasn't good enough to be in business, leader in her church, have a loving relationship, be a good mum. She just didn't believe she had anything good to give in life. However, wow, she ran last year for office in the New Zealand election. And although she didn't get voted in, she's now confidently running her own businesses. You know, she's managing to hire a team. She is doing incredibly, my Sharon. And when I say the vision that she created herself, in the sessions that we had, she described to me this vision she had. And then a few weeks later, after this election, she came back to me and she said, Ali, I just realized that I was standing in the room wearing the same color clothes, the same shoes that I had been visualizing. She said, I didn't realize it until after it happened, but I had attracted it into my life. So that's what I'm very excited to share that with you. All right, my lovely ladies. So let's talk about you. You know, your new life of true self-confidence awaits you. So I would love to have you in the Phoenix method. The cost of the course is $600 if you pay it in full, or you are welcome to go on a payment plan as well. So if you would like to, beautiful, my beautiful Alexis has popped it in the chat. Thank you, Alexis. I was just about to do that. You've already done. So yeah, book in for a chat with me today, you know, and the reason I don't just send you to a link and say book in and make a payment, because I want, you know, part of this whole thing is having a connection with you. So I would love to have a quick chat with you and just see where you're at and see if the Phoenix method is, you know, what you need. So book in for a chat. I think that now we're all adept at the QR code, so you can just hold your phone up to that QR code and book on in. You are welcome to do that. So I'm just going to leave that for a little minute. I will come back to that. There will be another slide. And then also, if you would like to connect with me, if you haven't already, in many other areas, you can certainly do that. Just pop on over to my link tree and you will see all my social medias there, and you can pick and choose which one you'd like to follow me on. I would love to have you, particularly if you're not already in my incredible Facebook group, Women Rising Above. This group is growing really well. It's only been going for just over a year. And this week, I'm actually starting some free live training in that group. So I'd love to have you pop over into Women Rising Above. You can get the link for that over in my link tree. So my beautiful ones, let's have a look. I said there were going to be time for questions. So we're going to do that now. And I'm just going to go back and have a look at the chat. Let me see. Whoop, I've lost the chat. Technology, everyone. Seriously, there we go. I found you again. Just bear with me. Now let's Karen. I saw that you said, now Karen, are you still here? Yeah, you are. You're going to a group this afternoon and you're totally frightened. If you'd like to, Karen, pop in the chat and tell me a little more about that. So just pop it in the chat if you're welcome, if you'd like to do that. Relate. Ash, yes, I agree, Helen. Yep. Okay, so you can relate to that too, Helen. So you're yeah, okay. This is likely to be a lot easier than you imagine. I totally agree. Well said, Helen. Yes, thanks for that encouragement. I agree. Actually, you know, I had, ladies, a moment at the end of COVID. Well, I mean, COVID's still going, but it was when the Adelaide really started to open again at the end of last year. I think it was around about September. And, you know, I had become very comfortable in working from home online and not going out and networking. Yet there was an event that I needed to go to. And I was petrified, right? My anxiety started to run up again. What I ended up doing was doing a really quick 6-minute meditation. And I went to this event, and like you say, Helen, I was frightened to go, but like we've spoken about today, I pushed myself that little bit further. I pushed myself to go. I encouraged myself to go, which is maybe a nicer way to put it. Once I went, I had an absolutely fantastic time. I even won the raffle prize. Right? So I agree with what you're saying, Helen. Sometimes, you know, it takes us, you have got this, Karen, go for it. You've absolutely got it. Go for it, because it takes us to push through that uncertainty and the discomfort to be able to feel and enjoy the time, enjoy the moment. As a child, Helen, as a child, I got punished for making mistakes. Still fills me with dread. Yeah, yep. I wouldn't say that I got punished, but yeah, I used to beat myself up for, or my itty bitty shitty committee had a field day when I'd make a mistake at school. If you had no fear, Helen, you would stop worrying that you're not doing a good job. Much love to you, darling. I'm sure you are doing a fantastic job. And this is where, Helen, I really encourage you to listen to your itty bitty shitty committee. Listen to her and question the reality of what she's trying to tell you. And remember that when we consciously do it, it's very quickly going to turn into subconscious, and you're going to really start to hear what she's saying, and then you're going to question it and go, well, actually, and you're going to use those affirmations about yourself. Helen, Ali, I've been taking seriously these slides and I've missed several. Any chance you can send this? Absolutely. Yeah, I sure can do that, Helen. No problem. I am more than happy. You still beat yourself up. Good on you, Karen. Yeah, look, head to the group, face your fear. I would love to, Karen, and Helen, and any of you ladies, I would love to have the opportunity to speak with you. As I said, book into that chat, because you've got this, girlfriend. Face your fear. And I would love to hear how you go, Karen. You're going to have a great time. Just keep telling yourself that. Use the affirmations that you need to. All right. So I can't see that anyone else is putting any questions in the chat. So I might just quickly move on. Meeting in the city now. Go, Chris. All right, lovely ladies. So as I promised you, a free gift for today, because I love my freebies. So I talked about mirror work. So this is something, a little short course that I have developed on mirror work, and it is called The Power of the Mirror. I would love to offer you, if you'd like to get into this course, pop your email in the chat now, and I will send you directions on how you can get into the Power of the Mirror course for free. So as I said, this is a little mini course, and it goes a little bit deeper than what I did today, not quite as deep as into the Phoenix method, but it is an incredible short course for you. So I can't wait to give that away to you. So pop your email in the chat, beautiful ones. And again, just to reiterate, this is what you get. I'd love to have the opportunity to have a chat with you in the Phoenix about the Phoenix method. This is what you will get: an online course, Facebook group, workbooks, live group coaching and individual coaching as well as meditations and monthly intensive masterclasses. So there's a lot in that, and you will get it for $600 if paid in full. And yes, there are certainly payment plans available. So I'd love to have the opportunity to have a chat with you, and I can see that you have put your emails all in the chat. No worries, ladies, I will get those out to you. If not late, or I will do it later today. All right, I'll do it this afternoon, pretty much straight after this webinar. So ladies, thank you so much for joining me. I hope that you have enjoyed this morning, and I will send the recording out too, and as well as the slides. I'll make note of that. So I'll certainly send those out to all of you who have attended. So thank you, beautiful ones, and I will see you soon. All right, looking forward to chatting with you, ladies. Bye.